you go. Hello, welcome to Hardware Talk. Hardware Talk NZ. This is the Hardware Diversity Discussion Podcast, episode 27 today, or number 3 for 2022. As I've said at the start of every podcast, I will not be taking a great deal of notice to chat, but if there is some questions, some important discussion, or if there's any raids or subs or anything like that, I might interrupt the discussion for that sort of thing. The alerts are, docs is turned off, and TTS is turned off as well, but that will be, you can spam us with that sort of thing as this discussion goes on, and we'll move into question time. We'll be going for about an hour and 20 minutes today, tops, so a little bit of a shorter discussion, but we'll try and get through all our topics. We do have Intel on the radar today, and some general topics at the end as well. So please give a very warm welcome to Mr. Cody, or as we like to call him, Geo or Geomoxian. We'll give him a hi. Welcome. Actually, are you muted? Yes, you are still muted. There we go. Hello, welcome. Oh wow. Hello.
Caught me taking vitamins. Excuse me.
That's all good. Where are we? Oh, there we go. Welcome in. Thank you. So, as we talk about, as we sort of, because I assume chat doesn't know quite who we are. I mean, but and for future reference as well. Who are you? What do you do? How did you get into content creation? What were you doing before this all sort of took off for you? And just a little bit of discussion about that.
Cool. Yeah. So I am Cody, also known as Geomoxian here on Twitch. I am only a very recent content creator. I've only had 3 streams in the past week, so it's very new for me. And I kind of got into it because my roommate Austin, also known as Innocent Elixir, she's been doing it for a little while, and I've seen a lot of growth out of her. And all that aside, I'm trying to use the platform as an opportunity for me to grow in a lot of different ways. And so I do different gaming streams and chatting stuff and just real simple stream stuff right now. I am from Austin, Texas, still there today. And there's lots to know about me, but hard to sum it all up in a very short amount of time.
Yes.
But that's kind of the gist of me on this platform.
Nice. Yeah. No. So what sort of was your? I don't know if you want to talk about your previous life, but what sort of things were you sort of up to before you sort? This was a good move for you, sort of time wise and investment wise. What sort of things were you up to before I suppose maybe even before meeting Austin? What sort of just a little bit about that.
So when I got out of high school, I did like the typical just working serving jobs. Yep. I managed a couple pizzerias. I did a couple things, but as far as like furthering my education went and what I've been doing with the last few years of my life, I got into massage therapy. Okay. And that has been a really rewarding industry in a lot of different ways. The money's good, the hours are short, the work is hard, and there's a lot to being a good massage therapist, but definitely has been a good sort of platform for me to do some self-growing on, and just a lot of learning. You meet all kinds of different people through massage, but that's been what I've been doing and what I am still doing today.
Okay. Yep.
I do private practice stuff now. I used to work for businesses more often, but after COVID, I lost my job I had a cushy little job at a spa, and good money, good hours, all that stuff. But they went under. Very sad after COVID.
Yeah.
Made a very common small business mistake of expanding too quick. Then something hit the fan. Too bad. So after that, I got into web development. So I started dipping my toes into coding a little bit. And at the end of my web development course, I came to find Well, web development's not exactly what I would like to be doing in the coding field. Maybe some sort of software development, maybe developing applications, but web development was a great place to start.
Yeah.
But definitely not what I want to be doing for work. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah.
Interesting. Oh, well, that's a bit of insightful information for all of us here. Yeah. I mean, you sort of were going on a little bit about that towards the end, but anything... I mean, no one's actually sort of said anything yet, so I'm interested to hear any sort of thing tech-wise that you're like, oh, I want to bring that up before we get into our main discussion. Like, oh, I want to sort of say this is sort of what I know how to do, or know what I've got, or happy about sort of sharing. Just a bit of that sort of thing before we get into the topics.
Yeah, so my background on technology and as far as kind of the stuff that we're getting into, I don't know a whole lot, honestly. Okay. I have built my own PC. I helped Austin a little bit. She chose all her own parts. She did the main stuff, but was there for that, helped her build that. I got an Intel. She got an AMD. Yeah. So we got to see a little bit of, real-time comparison of the two platforms, at least with the hardware that we got. And, beyond that and some of the software stuff, I don't really know a whole lot. I really don't. So I'm actually really hoping to learn a couple things on here. I'd imagine since you have a whole hardware show that you might know a thing or two about all this. So I'm looking forward to hearing what you have to say about it, and we'll see if I have much to add. I sure hope so.
Yeah, I mean, I like to give the impression, and I like to think that maybe I might have an idea on how to talk to people about it that, maybe, in your boat or even in another boat that might be like, oh, okay, I want to learn about it, not sure to where to go, not sure how to understand any of it, but I'm here to sort of help sort of explain it. So I suppose this is sort of the reason I do this. So, yeah, absolutely, and happy for you to come along and to be on that journey. Absolutely.
Totally.
Yeah. So,
I wanted to ask you something too, real quick, before we get into anything else.
Yeah, feel free.
I kind of wanted to know, how did you start doing this in particular? Like, what motivated you to get into doing hardware shows? Because this is definitely something I don't see a whole lot. Yeah. So how'd you do it?
I guess, I started this many years ago, recording it for YouTube. Probably back in 2016, 2017. Actually, I think even before that. And I suppose I was inspired by the Linus Tech Tips WAN show at the time, which is kind of...
his stuff.
Yeah. He does a weekly podcast, very, very, I suppose, inspired by this. And I sort of wanted to go a little bit down that route, but also by other tech reviews and media. And I thought, well, there's not much in the way of that sort of doing it for, audiences that aren't, just the same guest every week. And I thought I'd sort of see if I can get new people on, sort of help teach those people and, sort of get some interesting insights about what they have to say about it as well. And then I thought, I went off doing YouTube stuff. I've sort of quit that almost altogether at this point. I do upload VODs and things to YouTube and clips and whatnot, but it's nothing near the extent that I was doing this. So, and I've been doing Twitch the last sort of 7 or 8 months. Oh, actually, no, it's actually been about 10 months now. And I thought, why not do it live? And so I started about, November last year, and have a little bit different format with adding the question time stuff at the end for people to come and interact with us, because that's what doing it live is all about, is having that sort of that chatting aspect to it, where people can sort of do a bit of AMA. So yeah, that's me really. Yeah, I suppose I haven't really sort of discussed in depth like that before, so I appreciate the question.
Oh, cool. And, I was hoping that you hadn't been asked that a million times.
No,
so I'm very
I haven't.
Glad I did.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a bit about what I do and how I sort of came to be. But yeah, it's I came back from my holiday at the start of last year, and I was like, what am I doing with my time? And that was YouTube. And then I was like, no, don't feel like doing YouTube anymore. Let's find something else out, and that's what it was. So yeah, really glad to be here. Absolutely. Cool.
Very cool.
Okay. All right. Well, we've got about an hour and 10 minutes. We'll see what we can get through. I might have to cut some things out. But yeah, we'll see what we get. We'll see what we. If there's anything in there you go, I don't really want to talk about that. Just absolutely feel free to shout out that sort of thing, and we'll move on.
Well, dang, that's tempting. I like that kind of power, but I'm not sure that that's going to really happen. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens.
We'll go on the fly. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
all right.
Absolutely, as we do.
So the first topic is the Intel GPUs. This has been really, really hotly anticipated. I suppose Intel has been trying to make a graphics processor for quite some time. Obviously, their Intel CPUs have had chips and graphics parts in them for the last 12 years or so. But now they're actually wanting to make something discrete and competitive with AMD and NVIDIA. And so there's been little tidbits of leaks that have sort of come out over the last year or so. And we've got some fairly solid information about what they're going to look like, what's the performance we might be expecting, and sort of a bit of the tech that's going to be in them as well, over the, with some formal announcements. There's obviously bits and pieces that we still don't know yet, and they may well be delayed because we still don't know a heck of a lot. But yeah, so this is going to be, their product name is the Arc Alchemist. I know WCCF Tech has been banned in a number of Facebook groups because they're a little bit like Wikipedia in terms of how reliable their source information is, but it's information, it's out there, so let's talk about it at the same time. But so there's been some spotted benchmarks of one of their new probably the highest end chip that they're expected to bring out, and that's going to be the XE. Well, it's the DG2, because DG1 has already been out. That's been out for about a year or so now, and that's basically a slightly upgraded version of what you see in their laptops and their desktops, the integrated chips that you see there, and they made a discrete version of that. And that was sort of a bit of a teaser for what they're expected with DG2, which is obviously their bigger gaming graphics segment, and it looks really compelling. This is they've got 16 gigabytes of VRAM. We've got 512 EUs, which is about 32 times 512. So you've got 4,096 cores essentially. They call them ALUs, but it's sort of looking like they name things differently to avoid copyright and stuff. And they've seen a leak up 2.1 gigahertz core. Now they're looking at a 2.4 gigahertz core clock, which is a hell of a lot higher than what they were initially expecting. And so sort of going on off the compute performance and this leaked benchmark here as well, it is running a little bit behind in terms, because it's still an engineering sample, like a 2070, it's a little bit above a 2060 Super. So this may not be the highest end version as well, because they're sort of expecting an RTX 3070 level performance at the highest end, but there still could be driver bugs. They may not be worked. The optimization may not quite be worked out, but it's really, yeah. It's we need competition. Essentially, what it boils down to, and AMD and NVIDIA have had it too good for too long, and so it's finally a time since Intel poached the lead development person from AMD about 2 years ago, who worked on the Radeon Technologies group. I think maybe Intel was going to give them a little bit more freedom in terms of what to do with chip design and stuff like that AMD wouldn't give them. And so it's looking like this will be this is the highest end model. So I mean, they've got two choices, I think, really, in terms of what to do about this. And they either price them really competitively, so people will buy them all up and learn to trust their brands, because obviously people haven't bought an Intel graphics card before, so it's quite a new concept to people who are used to buying, especially NVIDIA with about 80 or 90% market share most of the time. Or they price them where they should be priced, a little bit above what they, and hopefully people expect a really premium product, and in that instance it's like, showing a bit of prowess because it's Intel and they know how to go about their marketing and things like that.
Right.
And then people may not be buying as many of them, so their market share will be sort of a little bit more exclusive, and so they sort of price the majority of people out of it, and it's like it's going to be interesting to see where that goes in terms of how they market it. But
I would agree. You know, I mean, Intel is already known in terms of like processors, right? They consider themselves that premium brand. They consider themselves like, yeah, you're going to have to pay the premium price for our well-tested, tried and true processors, right? Honestly, though, I think that AMD's been giving them a run for their money for a long time, at least on the processor game, and definitely, you know, if you're looking for affordable and performance, like AMD seems to be the way to go, at least in that respect. So I wouldn't be surprised if Intel, when it comes to these graphics cards, if they take the same route that they've been doing with their processors, since you know that's sort of the way that they've fleshed out their product in the first place. I think regardless of what happens when it does come out, there's going to be software problems. Like you're not going to get it on the ground day one. Everything's functional, and so that's kind of a little tricky if you're going to be, you know, putting down a $2,000-$3,000 graphics card and it's just dysfunctional. That's not going to fly with most people, and that's going to make Intel look pretty bad. And even if, you know, a lot of us can say, oh yeah, well, we understand the complications and stuff like that, you know, there's plenty of other people who would just rather buy a solid graphics card that already works right now and let Intel struggle for a while with their brand and all those things. I just don't see people paying out the ass for a graphics card that doesn't really work as well as it should, you know?
Absolutely. And I know with like their software development is, you know, people have not really paid a great deal of attention to the Intel driver stack because no one uses integrated graphics much, and not for gaming anyway. They just basically, if they don't want to do some video encoding, they might use it, or if they do have integrated graphics, they'll just do some basic, you know, productivity tasks and things, and might do the odd bit, but you've never be able to expect to game on Intel graphics, you know, integrated graphics. And it's like, so to expand what they've got with their integrated stuff into something a fully fledged product, you know, that's going to be competing with, you know, fairly high end products, you know, obviously not the highest of high end, but you know, you can't say that maybe they might not one day. It's like how they're gonna work all those bugs. And maybe that could be part of why if they're going to delay it, maybe that might be why they delay it, which is a good thing, because it's better to have something that is at least a bit more functional than what you've got now when you first get it. So that's always a plus. But yeah, I don't know. I think they're going to price them quite competitively. I feel they're going to have to make sure that people are going to want to buy them, and they are going to, you know, get their name out there, because obviously, as I said, it's just something so new to a lot of people, and they can't be sure to trust that they're going to be a good product, because as I said, if you want to buy something that works and you want to buy something that's good, just buy an NVIDIA GPU essentially. You know, a lot of people don't buy AMD for that reason, because their history of driver problems has been quite synonymous with their market share, and obviously that represents that quite strongly. So it's going to be interesting. I mean, I'm certainly looking forward to it. You know, it's something that's just going to be, because they've been able to, you know, sort of hold it quite close to their, you know, their chest in terms of what they're going to be doing, and it's obviously. They're going to probably not just release one card either, as I said from this other video, on this video cards article here. There's going to be something a little bit more mid-range as well. So it's going to be, you know, something that's going to be quite good. It's going to be obviously a little bit. They're looking at the A300 and the A500, which is going to be, you know, obviously a little bit more, you know, more maybe an RTX 3060. And maybe something more akin to a 3050 in there as well. And they've even got some performance benchmarks here. So the A380, which is going to be the lowest end, but the highest version of the lowest end, looks like it will be beating an RTX 3050, which is, I know, a little bit behind a 3050. So it's going to be quite low end in terms of what they're looking at here. This is just some performance of what they've seen in terms of Sandra, which is like a more of a compute type benchmark. So it's not an accurate representation of what you would see, because its computer isn't necessarily what you have in games. But it's good to see that they're going to be doing something, a few different models in each segment of the stack. So, because I think that's what's missing as well from a lot of these, from NVIDIA, I think in particular, is like the gap between each card is quite big. And they're like the 3070 to 3080 is about a 20 or 30%. And so there's not much granularity between each model. And I think maybe if they can fill that gap in between those particular models, if Intel can, then maybe it's like, if they price it a little bit cheaper than maybe even the one that's on the lower end of that gap, then they could find themselves a bit of a niche about saying, if you want to play games in medium-high 1440p at 60 FPS, but don't want to pay to play at high 1440, and it might be like 20 or 30% extra cost, then it's like you could find yourself in the middle there, and it's like, okay, that's what people want to do. They want to play the latest games at these sort of settings, at this sort of frame rate. It should actually be. They might find themselves like that too. I'm not sure. Yeah, it's all a little bit up in the air at the moment.
I mean, that makes a lot of logical sense. I think that would be a good move in a lot of ways. And I mean, hey, why not fill all the niches that you can? But honestly, if I was a gambling man, I'd imagine that Intel is going to continue up with their brand name of premium. This is the way to go. I just think that's kind of that's the vibe they've put down with their products for a long time. Yeah. It's honestly kind of one of the reasons that I got an Intel card in the first place. Yeah. Which I can say I kind of regret at this point. I spent a very similar amount of money on my PC build as Austin did hers, and I can say that her AMD processor and AMD parts, they outperform mine. So I don't know. I don't see them dropping it, because I think there's still people like me in that time that are going to sort of fall into that old mentality of, Intel's just the way to go. They're the best. But I think they're going to hold on to that. But we'll see, because like you said, they poached somebody from AMD and said, have free reign. And if they did that, then he might do it right. That's probably the best thing a massive, corporation can do.
And steal people from other companies that they've known to have a good track record and maybe a little bit distressed with the current situation that they're in, not having full control of the situation. It's like, okay, we can give you that. And because there's been quite a number of AMD engineers left for Intel, actually. Over the last sort of year or two, a lot of the high-end execs and things. They've even had a couple of people from NVIDIA come through as well. I think they even had the lead designer for one of the lead designers for Zen go over to Intel as well, and the Zen processors. So that's they've obviously been really serious about this. And as you said, if this is their shot, then they seem to be really set up to do it right. And if they do hold on to that mentality of saying that, well, this is the most best and premium product, I mean, that's good for marketing, right? Intel's marketing has always been fantastic, and, whether that's truthful or not, I don't look at marketing, because that's just not, I can see through that quite easily. But if it is something that people are trying to appeal to, then I can see that, being the best, but maybe the best in each segment, right? Like, not saying, we're going to put the Halo product out there now and you're going to expect to pay, thousands and thousands of dollars for something that may not be as good. And I think AMD got caught into that trap as well. They, with their past generations of graphics products, where they're like, this is going to compete at the really high end, and this is going to be the best product we've got, and it falls short. Like, it's not actually the best product, and I think if Intel caught themselves out like that, then it would be really devastating overall for, the
True.
possibility.
I completely agree with that.
Yeah, so
it would really hurt their brand.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Here we go. Someone actually got one just before we move on. Someone actually got one in the box. This is a test, something that they've received in the mail of just a test product. I don't know how they managed to get this, but
that's what I'm wondering.
Yeah, it seems a bit sus to me, doesn't it? Like, how did you get a hold of something that's not even anywhere near released yet? And they've got some really high detail photos of it there too. And it's like, I find that to be quite odd. I don't know. Obviously, maybe it's for them to do development on. Maybe they're looking at how they're going to do some testing and things for people. Maybe this might be like as close as you get to the final product without having the final product. I'm not sure, but yeah, that's it's exciting, and I think that's sort of why I wanted to talk about it again, because I did cover it last year, but we had a hell of a lot less information about it last year. It was sort of almost completely rumour mill stuff, and no one knew anything about what was going on. But now we've got a lot more announcements, and it looks like it's going to be a lot closer to the time of release. It's looking promising that what we're seeing here may actually be what comes out in the final product. So yeah, I think that's so that will cover off the GPU portion of today's discussion. We're going to move on to the CPU stuff, and this is, I guess it's a lot less exciting, because I'm thinking that what's happened with 13th gen is going to be very similar to 12th gen. I think they're not going to do a complete refresh of anything this time around. So obviously, should we cover off 12th gen first before we move into 13th gen? Maybe we should do that, because at least then we understand a little bit about what's going on here in terms of stuff. But basically, I'll go back to this. I'll go back to here. 12th gen was a complete redesign up from Intel's perspective. They basically went back to the drawing board after 11th gen, and I think they've been probably working on it since 10th gen really, and they decided, okay, what do people actually need? And what they were finding was that people have a lot of stuff running in the background. Like they know that, a lot of people, they don't just play games. They have other stuff open at the same time, and they're working on other bits and pieces. So what they did was, so I might even bring this up here actually, Intel 12th gen diagram. Let's do some Googling while we're here. Images. Yeah, yep, that's it there, perfect. Scene 2. Yeah, so this is basically what we see here, where we've got the really high performance cores, so they're called Golden Cove at this point, and they're the 8 cores that you see, that play games. And they've been able to hardware guided scheduled, basically to have the really high taxing stuff on those cores. And then in the background here, we've got the Gracemont cores, which is are they 8 there as well? Yeah, there's 8 there as well, which are the low power ones. They're basically almost like a little bit of an Intel Atom type situation, which is like, don't consume much in the way of power, and don't do, they sort of run things in the background, essentially. And they've actually got it pretty down pat. I think they've been able to really sort that out in terms of what that looks like and how that works, software wise within Windows and things like that. You've obviously got the XE GPU there, which is sort of based on DG1, and then they've got DDR5 memory support. Actually, they'd be AMD to it for once. And they've got PCI Express Generation 5 as well. They'd be AMD to that too. So, not that anything uses PCI Express Gen 5, because it's sort of one of those things that is not even relevant yet. I don't think they've even got SSDs out for it. But so they've got hyper-threading on the high performance cores, which is basically where they tell Windows to say, oh yes, I've got 2 threads available to me instead of 1, so they can effectively double the throughput on each core. It's been around since day dot. Intel's been really been good at utilising that to its fullest. Obviously AMD's got their version of hyper-threading as well on their Zen CPU cores. But there's no hyper-threading on the low-power cores. So that's why they're like 24 cores, 32 threads type of situation. That's kind of weird how they've gone and advertised that. But, yeah, so that's basically 12th gen. I mean, it was quite a blowing, they had to do something because, as you know yourself with Zen and, with 11th gen and 10th gen products as well, is that Zen 3 and Ryzen 5000 is a superior platform, and I think AMD and Intel realised that, and they're like, how can we actually do this in a way that's different, and not just focusing on one single set of cores? And they went back to the drawing board, and that's what they came up with. And 12th gen is actually faster than Ryzen 5000 in about 80 or 90% of applications that people realistically use, because it's able to divvy up what goes on. Even though they've got less cores, in theory got less cores than what AMD has, the power in which they can distribute what goes on means that they're able to actually beat out what AMD has to offer. So yeah, it was really good. And I think, as I said, with 13th gen, they're looking at Tiger Lake. This is Alder Lake, so it's still basically based on the same sort of architecture, but they are going to obviously tweak the performance of each core. They're looking, it's going to retain compatibility with current gen motherboards, the LJ1700 platform, which is great because obviously Intel has the tendency to change motherboards every couple of years, and that sort of has I think stumped their growth over the last few years, because AMD's been able to retain socket compatibility from Zen 1 all the way up to Zen 3. So they've about 4 years of socket compatibility in there, which means people don't have to go about a new motherboard every time they want to buy a new CPU, which has been great. I think they're looking like the same really double-digit performance boost. I don't think they're going to get 10% extra performance out of it. They might do, depending on how they go about tweaking things. But it's not, it's basically a revised version of what's out there now. And whether that will be enough to fight Zen 4, because I'm going to talk about a little bit more about AMD next week. Maybe we'll in another show. But what they're doing looks very, very exciting as well, with their 3D cache technology, which is basically they've glued a section of really high speed memory on top of their CPU core and given it direct access to I think it's an extra 64 megabytes of this really high speed RAM that's basically glued to the top of the CPU core, and it's looking like it's going to give, even to current gen processors before any IPC gains of Zen 4, looking like an extra 10 or 15% performance increase there as well. They're still yet to release the 5800 X3D on Zen 3. That it was meant to be a released product by now, but I don't think they're going to do it because they're probably focusing on Zen 4, which is a shame, because it'll be interesting to see the performance benefits we'll see with current technology, with new technology, rather than just going straight onto the new technology. But yeah, that's my ramble about Zen 3. I won't talk more about that while we've got a whole show dedicated to it in the next wee while. But
that does sound interesting, though. That's like a truly revolutionary thing, as opposed to just, okay, more power, more stuff, right? It's actually something new on the scene. Yeah,
I mean, Intel really did think about that, and I'm glad that they actually were able to say, without just cramming 400 watts of power into this one chip that does 6 gigahertz or 6.5 gigahertz or whatever it is, and just brute forcing the competition. They actually went smart about it and thought, okay, how are we going to do this and what do we need? And obviously that's what they decided, and it's going to be, I think it's going to be their platform going forward. I think this is obviously the groundwork to how they're going to work on the next sort of 5 years of their tech, yeah.
If it's worth its salt, that is, we've yet to see. We'll see if it works or if it's just sensational, right?
No, it does work. 12th Gen is already out there. Oh, it does work? Yeah, it does work.
Okay.
As I said, I mean, 12th Gen has been out for about 4 or 5 months now, I think, maybe a little bit more than that. And
I see.
Yeah, it's the benchmarks say that 12th Gen is certainly faster than Ryzen 5000s by about, quite a bit, actually. Even the i5 CPUs, which is like the mid-range offerings, are even beating out AMD's mid-range offerings, which I think that's where it hurts AMD most, is because their mid-range is where a lot of people bought like the Ryzen 3600 or the 5600X, their 6-core offerings. And it's like, if Intel can sort of take the value proposition away from that, then they're going to creep back, and I've already started to see them creep back actually with their market share, because AMD had about 30% of it up until the start of the year, which is quite record for them, and I think they're sort of going to back down towards about 20-25%. So, and that's just this year alone. So with 13th Gen coming, hopefully it'll be a little bit cheaper than what 12th Gen is. It's just crazy to see that. As you talk about crazy things, have you got anything to add before we move on to the end of this Intel CPU stuff?
Not a damn thing, to be honest.
Not a damn thing. There's a weird anomaly that I've discovered actually with 12th Gen, and that's that it won't play Blu-ray discs, which is kind of funny. Intel put in their, what do they call it? Their, what is it called? DRM. Yeah, the DRM stuff into their 6th Gen CPUs to be able to play 4K Blu-rays. They actually added a software thing that you needed to. It's called SGX, which is some software guard extension that I think the Blu-ray companies decided to say, oh yep, we'll pay you to license our stuff to you if you can stop anybody else using it, type of thing. Which I know that's shady, but that's just what Intel does. With 12th Gen, they've decided, no, we're not going to allow you to do that anymore, because I guess who plays 4K Blu-rays?
True, yeah.
I don't know.
It's phasing out. I mean, I don't have a CD drive over here. Do you have a CD drive?
No, I regret it in some instances, because I still have a lot of disc games that I have. But I've got other systems in the house that have CDs, so like that's not a big deal. But I was thinking about buying like a USB Blu-ray drive, but they're really expensive. Like for what they are, and I thought, do I need them that much? Not really. So yeah, it's crazy that they've just, even without, like, I thought that maybe they would have gone and marketed this a little bit more. But apparently it's also a very vulnerable part of Intel CPUs. Like, they've got all these targets that, by malware and viruses and stuff like that can get into this SGX thing and infect your system. So I guess that's an issue. But yeah, you can't solve it. You have to basically just use an older system if you want to play Blu-rays, which is, I guess, if you want to run an 11th gen system, you're not going to have a bad experience at all. But yeah, no, it's just found that to be quite interesting. It's quite interesting there. And to finish off the Intel stuff, we can talk about that for like 2 seconds, I suppose. And that is the 12900KS. And this is like their highest end 12th gen CPU. It's basically just got a slight overclock. It's got a boost to 5.5 gigahertz and a base of 3.4. But this is the crazy part, right? We're looking at the benchmarks look really, really good. And yeah, it's even beating out. Yeah, it's basically beating everything out there, to be honest. Even Threadripper CPUs, it look like it's coming up on that even. They're looking at $750 USD for it, for just the CPU, which is about $150 odd, $200 odd more than their 1200K, and 260 watts of power, which is, and 12th gen is already a power hog with 240 expected on the maximum turbo of the 1200K. It's just crazy that they're going to be launching this, and I suppose that's just to really put salt in the wound of Ryzen 5000, and what people, obviously trading blows have, and it's like finally they're able to nail in the coffin a little bit, and it's like, oh, okay, this is just to make sure that they've done it this generation in case AMD comes out with something a little bit faster. Maybe they were expecting the 5800, no, Ryzen, the 5000X, oh god, X3D, with that glued RAM onto the top, to make their chip a little bit faster as well. So, yeah, that's interesting. Really crazy stuff there.
We'll see how that all pans out. I feel like Intel was kind of the sleepy giant for a long time.
Oh, absolutely.
They were really at the top, and AMD kind of woke them up after some point.
Yep.
And
yep.
I mean, if I had to go back and rebuild my computer, I definitely would be getting an AMD chip over the Intel.
Okay.
You just get more performance for your buck, I find. With the build that Austin did, she's only had one problem with one game ever, and that was like a poorly optimized PC port. Yeah. So kind of, we'll put it 50-50 AMD, 50 on just the people who ported the game. Yeah. Lots of crashing and stuff like that. But aside from that one issue, like, she just got a lot more power for what she spent, and so I would definitely be choosing AMD products if building stuff up. And I don't know, one thing about a lot of these products that we're talking about too, like, these are the new tech, right? This is the high-end stuff. Yeah. Right, and like, for a just regular consumer like myself, I don't even know if you'd call me regular, because, I stream, I game, I need a performance PC, but I'm also a middle-class motherfucker who is not making that much money, and so budget is very relevant in building a PC. Yeah. So, maybe this new technology that they're going to come out with is going to be cutting edge. It's going to be the deal. It's going to be great. It's going to be expensive still, because everything new is super priced out. Oh, yeah. But, maybe 5 years from now, when I need to build another PC, maybe then I'll be looking at these Intel products, right, as just a regular dude. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how that pans out, right?
I was talking to someone about this as well. It's like, I was going to update my GPU. Mine is quite an old card.
I need to do that too. God damn.
And I was like, oh yep. I'm just going to buy the latest gen, and maybe not quite the highest end, but maybe 2 or 3 tiers down, and look at, okay, how's it going to look? And then I saw, 1, they're not available, and 2, they're like twice the price as what you'd expect them to be. I thought, yeah, okay, I'll just be happy with my system. and I have been, luckily, because I thought if I'm gaming and streaming at 1440p as well, I thought that would probably put quite a big stress on what I've got, but it's been pretty good so far. And I've had the same configuration for about 2 years now, and I thought, I'd probably really look at something else, but it's been fine. And as I said, like yourself, it's budget is certainly important. And when you look at saying you're getting maybe 30 or 40% extra performance for about twice the price, it's just like, I just can't justify that at all. Right. So yeah, one day it would be great to do it again. And I haven't actually built a PC for about probably about 6 or 8 months now, but I'm going to be doing one live, so that would be kind of cool, for just a test bench, an old computer that I have up that I'm just going to be using to plug things into if they don't quite work properly or whatever. But that'd be exciting. I'm looking forward to doing that. But yeah, I won't go into that too much more here today.
Totally.
I'm going to move on to the NUC. These things are awesome. These things are really, really cool. And they've actually kind of exploded in terms of what they've become, really. They've actually become a wee desktop. Because they were known to be like a are really something could sort of screw to the back of your monitor and have like as like a wee PC that does basic stuff, and then they've moved into like gaming stuff a little bit, and now they're actually like you can actually build this and customize this and do shit with it, and I was like, that's actually awesome.
I've never seen this thing. What is this thing?
So this is the Intel NUC, which is called the next unit of computing. They've been out for quite some time now, but this is, as I said, they started off as like a wee cube, like kind of like probably about half the size of a shoebox, and that was like, they basically were a laptop CPU. They had soldered on RAM. You could basically put an SSD into them, and that was about it. And then they sort of moved into gaming with like one about 4 or 5 years ago. It was sort of the similar sort of size, but had like a GPU in it. But now this is the third generation of this sort of form factor that they've got here, where basically they've got, do we have like I guess we've got a picture here. But if he's, as you can see inside it, there's like a wee SFX power supply, which is like a desktop power supply. It's modular too, which is kind of awesome. And then they've got like then they've got this thing called the compute element. I'll see if I can find a better picture of it, but basically, I thought I did actually find a picture. So the Intel compute element. NUC compute elements. Here we go. Do they have a picture of...
I think I'm looking at it right here.
You are? Okay. Do you have a NUC compute elements? Yeah. It's basically like a... It basically looks like a graphics card.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. It looks like a big graphics card, kind of like a wider graphics card.
Yeah.
And yet it's got all your USB ports, your Ethernet, your HDMI.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Like it's actually like a full on computer. And it's
so is there a processor in there too?
Yep, there's a processor. Okay. The graphics is in there. Well, not actually. No, in the case of these ones, the graphics isn't in there. Because what they've got is if you want to... here's actually an inside picture. That's what you've got here. So you've got the RAM. It's laptop memory. They've got 2 M.2 drives in there, so you can put SSDs on it. They've got the heatsink. Got all the expansion ports there, USB 2, USB 3. But then, what they decided to do is to do that. Which is basically, you plug in the PCI Express expansion, and that gives you the ability to put in a graphics card into that wee case, it's quite a small case. You're looking at, where are we? It's 12 inch by 4 inches, I believe. Yeah, 4 inches by about 12 inches, which is not huge. So you can't fit you can't fit a 3090 in there or anything like that. But the difference with this one is I don't have a picture of it. I don't think I could find one. But this 12th gen, compared to the other generations, have had laptop CPUs in them still, even the 11th gen one, which looked very similar to this, as it's got a desktop CPU in it. So you can put a 12900E, which is the 65 watt version of the 12900K, into this particular system, which is bonkers. Like, you could actually go and buy... I think it's quite hard to find the 12900E, but it's still crazy that they've gone and put a full-blown desktop CPU in something so small.
What do you think this is for exactly? Like, I can imagine a couple niche cases, but I imagine that the pricing on this is going to be significantly higher. It always is with smaller spaces, right? And because it's not like a standardized product, it's more niche and stuff. Expenses just go through the roof on this stuff, I'd imagine. Yeah,
I did look into... I did sort of see something, I think... I'll see if I can buy the Intel NUC 11 Extreme. Let's do some Googling here. There we go. Beast Canyon 11th gen. Here it goes. So to buy the base unit in New Zealand for the 11th gen, so this is the current generation one with the 11900 KB, It doesn't have any storage. It doesn't have any graphics card in it. $2,000.
Yikes.
Just for the case and the motherboard and the compute element. It doesn't even.
And when you say it has no storage, I mean it's got the M.2s in it, right? Or
you have to put them in yourself.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So basically, you just buy the motherboard, the power supply, and the CPU and the case, and that's all you get for that $2,000.
My. Yeah, so that really makes me wonder, like, who is this for? You know, there's not that many people that are going to be getting this thing, right? It looks cool.
It does.
The branding
cool.
is very reminiscent to old Alienware laptops, right?
Yeah, the old skull, the old with the old school Alienware stuff. Yeah, this is So yeah, I completely agree, and the RGB does look. And I mean, it would be awesome. I love the size of small computers, but you can build small computers, and the cost is a lot less than this. So it's like, what do you need this for? But I don't know. Like it'd be neat, and I was just if that was your whole setup, right? You can fit.
It's definitely neat. It definitely looks cool.
Yeah.
And I see some even cool setups. I'm looking at one right here. It's got sort of the transparent glass.
Yes.
So you can see all the components in there. That looks very, very cool.
Yeah. And like the amount of the amount of ports you get is probably a little bit on the thin side, but it's got Thunderbolt. So if you buy like a Thunderbolt dock, which obviously Apple is quite known for, then you can expand that further, which is good. You do get Ethernet, you get Wi-Fi there too. I think the funny thing with this is I think this bare bones kit doesn't even have the Wi-Fi card included, so you have to put a Wi-Fi card in it as well. So it's just crazy. And the laptop RAM is actually not cheap.
This is one of those things to me, like you're kind of a well-off person, like you're not stressing for money. You're a nerdy individual. You've got nerdy friends, and you say, "Hey, look at my cool thing. Isn't this novel? Isn't this neat?"
Yeah.
And absolutely, it's very cool. It looks cool, but I don't think you'll see this as part of my setup, right?
No. I mean, it would be awesome, and I think it would. And if I could have a smaller computer than my small computer that's just sitting not far behind me there, that would be cool just to be able to take around and stuff. But a small computer's there's nothing wrong with having a computer the size of a shoebox and probably about 5 or 10 kilos, in there somewhere too. But unless you can build it yourself, you can fix it, you can do everything you need to do that you can with a large desktop. But that just seems a bit much, going a bit far to making things small.
Right.
So
it's kind of there's no real niche there is I guess how I see it. Like it's an in-between step between, say like a phone, our new phones that we got going out, obviously very small, very compact, and does a lot of things. And then, a desktop. I mean, you're still going to have to make a space for it, but
I guess it's almost.
I guess I could say I wouldn't be complaining if my desktop was a little bit smaller, because I mean, this is a big old unit over here.
It's almost in between a laptop and a desktop. More so, I think, because you still have to a lot of people with laptops who have as your main setup, still plug keyboards into them, still plug mouse and monitors into them. So I guess it's if you want to have a laptop, but will still want the power, still want to do things with a desktop, it's kind of in between.
That makes sense, actually. Okay, I could see that as a use case. It's I know that there's going to be a screen I can hook this bad boy up to, and I need a on-the-go computer. That makes sense, actually. I could see that.
Yeah, it's just I wonder what it would cost to actually build it up to have a full spec'd out kit. It would probably be $3,000, $3,500. I'm thinking.
At least it was $2,000 without the graphics card, right? Yeah. So it depends on how that's always the factor in your expenses, right? How much am I going to spend on the graphics card?
Yeah, and that's the bulk. You could actually, I mean, obviously you are restricted with size as well, so you can't fit a lot of generic graphics cards in there either. So you can't get too crazy. But at the same time, buying something smaller again increases the cost, even though they should be charging you less for something smaller, but that's okay. yeah, it's just yeah, it's probably a little bit. It's a little bit in between that, and I think if you want to get a laptop, get a laptop. If you want to build a desktop, there's many configurations you can do with that, and you get a lot more flexibility when things break. Because if that breaks, what are you going to do? Like, there's not much you can do. So yeah, it's
cool little thing.
Cool thing.
Cool little thing.
Yeah, but not quite. Yeah, it's a little bit much. Anyway,
Niche product.
Yeah, very. Right. Okay. Now it's a bit of decision time because we do have about. Okay, we'll call it sort of maybe 40 minutes tops here.
Okay.
Is there anything you want to cut out before we move on? Anything you think? No, I don't really want to talk about that.
Let's see. Looking at these things. So I see that we've got sort of our first section of stuff, and then the second section. One thing that does seem interesting to talk about is self-driving drift cars. That's
did I send you the wrong form?
Ooh,
no.
Maybe so, because that jumped off the page to me.
Oh, did it? Oh, did I send you the wrong?
That's okay. That's okay.
I didn't send you the wrong form. No, I didn't. Is that still on the page?
Topic 2. It's a little bit further down.
Nope.
After the graphic image.
I must have sent you the wrong one. That's crazy. Oh.
That's okay.
But I opened the one that I sent you. I just opened that. Okay, maybe I'll open it, and I'll see what's actually there. You've got me interested now because I was like, that shouldn't be there.
But above all that, on topic 1,
I did.
We got the.
Okay, I'll send you the right one then. What? That's crazy.
Cool.
How did that work? How did I send you the wrong one? Okay, all right, let's go back to Discord here. No, I've got completely new topics in that area. Yeah, no, I talked about that last week. I mean, we can talk about it a little bit more if you want, but that's okay. You covered it. I don't mind, but that just sounds like an interesting thing. It was
very interested in the self-driving car technology. So actually one of the things as a massage therapist, I get to work on a lot of different people, and I get to work on a lot of hard-working ass people. And I've worked on a lot of people that have worked in self-driving car technologies, and of course they're all very nerdy, and nerds have a tendency to be very like, our brand does this where theirs does that. And, I've kind of caught a little bit of that, and it's I don't know, the self-driving car technology thing is very interesting. I think it's got to be the future. I'm hoping that we implement that stuff as soon as possible, so it can just be the norm. I'm ready to get these apes off the road, myself included. The computers will do it better.
I'm just learning to drive, actually. I've got a good friend of mine.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I'm learning to drive stick because I think I want to be able to enjoy it while I still can. Because I think that in some point in the future, they just won't be making manual cars at all. And then, as you said, hopefully not long after that, probably computers will be the next. You won't be doing anything. And it's like I've always been a bit of a gearhead, and I waited 10 years too late to get my license, which doesn't help. But it's just cool to feel like you're in control of it. And and as you say, there's a lot of idiots on the road. Everyone included, probably.
I think we have high expectations of each other, but at the end of the day, we're all just animals on this planet. The fact that we can do as many things as we can is incredible, but I just think driving cars it's a dangerous thing, and because it's such a everyday affair, we tend to get a little bit sloppy with it. We tend to stop realizing how dangerous it is until something catastrophic happens. And self-driving cars will reduce the amount of deaths, will reduce the amount of time I have to spend on the wheel, and all sorts of stuff. So I'm gun-ho about it. But you talked about that topic last week. That's totally cool, but very interesting stuff to me. Yeah,
I mean, I guess, if you're going to have self-driving cars, you can have self-driving race cars too, I suppose, and that's going to be a bit sad. Like, I'm not looking forward to, there's a lot of electric race cars out there now as it is, and I thought that's just, making me a bit rough.
Somebody actually told me that was into that stuff, that they have started implementing more self-driving technology into race cars and stuff like that, like more computers that will decide what to do and stuff like that. I don't know the truth of it. Some guy on Twitch told me that, you can't trust everything you hear on Twitch chat, but
yeah, don't trust us, chat. Yeah, we're telling all lies all the time. I don't. Yeah, what are facts? Anyway, right. So we're going to talk about. Well, if you want to open up the other document. Sorry, I don't know how I sent you the wrong one there. I completely apologise about that.
That is okay.
But the other ones are fairly sort of basic topics anyway, and I'm quite happy to hear your input on one particular thing. Or we might just have that one as our last one for this sort of section, and then we might go to the more general topic pieces, and then we might finish off there. So we might just cut out the rest. But yeah, this is actually kind of cool. This was released last year, and I haven't actually talked about it. I'm quite surprised that I didn't. But this is Noctua's passive CPU cooler. Complete no fans at all. Because they've been trying to work towards this for quite some time. They just haven't had a big company behind it pushing, what people want to see and how it's going to work and all that sort of thing. And so now they actually didn't do a review on it until last month. So obviously it's been a while in the making with what it is. But yeah, 110 USD. It's got a 6-year warranty. I think it should have more than 6 years because there's no moving parts. And it looks like it should, in theory, look at the size of it, and that's a regular CPU cooler.
I see it.
And that's the passive one. It's absolutely massive. But obviously, when you're relying on no airflow at all, you're gonna need that. They do have benchmarks. I think they've got some testing results. Here we go. So they've chucked it on a 60-watt CPU. It dealt 20 degrees delta over ambient, which is brilliant. So we'll look at about a 200 watt load. See what it does there. Yeah, that's throttling at 200 watts. Yeah, that's looking about 100 degrees at 200 watts. So 150, let's look at that. 65. That's probably usable, realistically speaking. 65 degrees over an ambient temperature of about 20. So if you've got 80 degrees on your CPU, it's warm. That's damn warm and probably not something you want to have. But it's usable. I mean, you're looking at probably they recommend about 100 watts, which is a fairly low-powered chip. But I think a lot of Zen processors, like the mid-range Zen CPUs, and maybe even some of the lower-end Intel chips, like the i5s and stuff, should be under 100 watts at full load. And if you're going to get 60 degrees on your CPU, that's very, very good for something that's completely silent. Like
right.
Obviously, there's a lot of weight to it. What did they say the weight was? Does it say
1.20 kilograms?
Yeah, that's heavy. That's so heavy. Strapping that to the side of your motherboard is not great. But Noctua has always had good mounting mechanisms. Like they've actually been able to sort out how they. I've actually used a lot of Noctua coolers, and they seem to have gotten it right in terms of how you attach it to your motherboard. So I'm very glad that Noctua has gone out of their way to do their first iteration of this, rather than another brand that might not be as well suited to having such a large thing attached to your computer. But yeah, like if you can buy like an i5 or a Ryzen 3600 or a 5600, and you're happy with, spending a little bit more on your cooler, I mean, $100 is, about the same as a good...
That's really not that much.
No.
Yeah, that's about how much I spent on my cooler, right?
Yeah, and it's so and it's something, no fans at all, complete... I mean, you can put fans on it if you want. There is clips to do that. I'm not sure why you'd want to. And so, hang on. So, a fully loaded Noctua NHU12S... 3 times the 3 times the volume. I was going to say look at the weight, but the weight's probably a lot less than that. But yeah, it's rather impressive. I think they've actually, if this is I'm keen to see more silent stuff, to be honest. It's going to be interesting to see how that goes.
It's cool that it works, and it's cool that it's at such an effective price point. Hey, I'm on an interview right now, so I'll talk to you in just a second.
Yeah.
That looks sweet, though. I like what I see there. He just brought in a bunch of board games and stuff.
Oh, nice. Nice.
Right. But yeah, it honestly, very effective pricing. I'm kind of surprised that they can sell this big hunk of copper for $110.
Yeah, I'd say the amount of...
And still turn a profit off of it. But.
Yeah, I think a lot of it will probably be aluminium. Quite thick aluminium. I mean, there'll probably be some copper in the fins, maybe. But I'd say with something that big... Yeah, you
the fins are made of copper. I kind of just
scrubbed
through the
fins
article.
are copper? Oh, really?
Yeah, I scrubbed through looking at it. It says something about the fins in a symmetric pattern. They're made out of copper.
Oh, wow.
But are fully nickel plated to prevent surface corrosion.
They're copper. Holy cow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay.
Oh, yes, but here it is. You're right. Mostly made out of aluminum, which makes sense. That's going to cool quickly.
And cheaper to produce and lighter effectively too, because if that was all copper, you'd be looking at about 2 or 3 kilograms, which is too much. Because obviously...
Right.
But yeah, no. Obviously, the bottom, the cold plate will be copper, and the heat pipes, which are obviously what comes out of the cooler, will be copper as well. But yes, there's something. All those fins being copper, I believe, that would be a little bit much. But hello, chatter, welcome. Thank you very much for coming in.
Hey, Nyar.
We'll probably. I think we'll probably close up the main part of our show here. So we're going to go into a little bit of our sort of general conversation here a little bit. I mean, if you want to say, I don't want to talk about that, or we don't have time to talk about that, then this is your opportunity. But here you can actually interrupt chat, and you can interrupt us and ask your questions if you've got anything to talk about technology-wise, anything about Intel, anything you've heard here today, then feel free to do it. I think the sound alerts, the alert box, and are actually on now, so if you want to troll us a little bit too, feel free. But yeah, so I talked a lot about 4K actually with other people. Unless you've got anything to add about 4K, what you think about 4K in general? No, yeah.
I mean, it's been a thing. It's here. It's resolution, right? I mean, they've been releasing 8K stuff for a little while.
I know.
And so they've already got the next lineup, but. Yeah, I mean, what's to really say about it? There's a lot of monitors and TVs that say, this is a 4K TV, but maybe it's not truly 4K, I don't know. It's the new HD, right? It's hype. It's people see a $300 4K TV and they say, oh, well, that must be a good deal, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah, it's a bit crazy. And yeah, no, I think I don't have time to talk about 4K and again in the fullest way that I normally would. So we'll move on to games. What do you play? What do you like playing? What did you grow up playing? Just a little bit about that, I think.
Sure. Yeah. I can talk a lot about games, a lot more about games and hardware, for better or for worse.
We'll keep you to 5 minutes. There we go.
Okay, there you go. That's perfect.
Keep you to 5 minutes. Yeah, there you go.
General backstory on gaming for old me. I played a Tomb Raider 2 when I was probably like 4 years old. That was my first game that I played, and it was very defining for me. Eventually, I got a Game Boy, and I just was a gamer ever since. I was very fortunate. I went to like a after school. My grandmother was still working, so I was at like an after school care kind of thing.
Okay, yeah.
So lots of kids. We all had Game Boys. We were battling and trading Pokemon and all sorts of stuff. So there really was a lot of community in games for me growing up, and it's definitely was a coping thing for when I was young. But regardless of why I did it, I played games a lot, and at this point in my life, it's a daily thing for me. I don't feel like I have fully done my day until I've played at least a little bit of games,
Yeah.
What games am I playing now? Splitgate, for my competitive shooter, Overwatch for hanging out with my friends, Elden Ring because it's hot, it's new, and I love the Dark Souls series. And Monster Hunter, because if there's one franchise that I love, it's Monster Hunter.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Okay. Oh, all right. Is it? Yeah.
Are you a gamer boy? Are you a gamer boy hardware?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, the first game I remember playing, actually, I replied to a tweet about it, and someone didn't know what I was on about. Hey, no, 4K data is pretty intensive, good setup. Yes, yeah, it can. Yeah, absolutely. And I think if you've got a really good 4K TV, then it does look nice, and as long as you've got the hardware to run it, then it should be good. So, yeah, I grew up on Microsoft Fury 3 on Windows 98. That was my first game I remember playing. It's kind of like a space shooter 3D type game. I remember I actually went back and watched some videos of some gameplay, and I thought, wow, I felt like I was 3 years old again, which was crazy. But my first, I had the PlayStation 1, had Gran Turismo, that was my main game I played on there, Gran Turismo 2, a few of the very early Need for Speed games as well. Tekken I played a bit on PS1, but nothing. I didn't really play any shooting games until. Everyone played GTA San Andreas on PS2, right?
Right, but that's I wouldn't even really call that like a traditional shooter. That's more of a 3D open world, with guns attached.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's not the primary objective. Yeah, I didn't really play any shooting games until I had an Xbox 360. I skipped the PS3 because I guess I couldn't afford one. Really was the main crux of that. And then I played like Gears of War. I actually played COD on my friend's PS3. I still hate COD, and that's the reason why. And I played. What else did I play? Army of Two was Halo. Played a bit of Halo on PC and on Xbox. Didn't play it. I didn't actually play online games until I had a PC. I never, obviously, like my friends had PlayStation Network and stuff like that, and I sort of did a little bit then. But I never got Xbox Live either.
I was in the same boat. Yeah, there was no way my grandma was going to dish out a monthly fee for shit. I couldn't get a $5 a month subscription to RuneScape, so good luck on Xbox Live, right? No way.
Yeah. But yeah, I guess like I've always been a racing person. I have played the odd. I loved Battlefield 3 and 4. I still play that a little bit. Zuki Scudo, hell yeah. I played Gran Turismo on my phone. I emulated it on my phone, and I actually just got Gran Turismo 3 sorted on my PS2 emulator, and I was trying to restrict myself to how long I was playing that, because I thought I could be here for hours or days on end. And I think I was going to tweet out saying I could be quite happy locked in my room for 10 days for some reason that may not want to discuss too much about here, and playing Gran Turismo. So that would be really good. But so that was sort of my childhood. I sort of played a lot of racing. I didn't play shooting games till later on. I played GTA.
So what about now? What are you playing now?
What am I playing now? For my Friday, I only really play games when I stream. Pretty much. Like I used to be a lot more involved when I played a lot of Fallout. I played Just Cause. I remember what else I just started. I've been convinced by a community to play the Lost Ark. I've never played anything like that before, and it's like, oh, this is kind of interesting. And it's like so new to me, it's not even funny. But my Fridays I play Borderlands, the pre-sequel. I have never played Borderlands in my life before either, so I started in the wrong one, but that's okay. Obviously I play Forza Horizon on Saturdays, and I do a little bit of Wreckfest, because I still want to play it with the community that I'm involved in, but I'm open to anything else, after they go offline, sort of a couple of hours I start. So, I played a little bit of Among Us there, Dead by Daylight there. What else did I do? I did some Back 4 Blood. I did just whatever people are open to playing, and that's been really fun. But yeah, I don't really play games much during my week. I seem to run out of time. So that's all good. Nothing wrong with that. But
Absolutely. I've had to structure my life around video games, and not my video games around my life.
Yeah.
Which, you could say this or that about, but for me, at the end of the day, it's such a deep love, desire, passion, hobby, all that stuff. Like it's an important part of my identity, and I don't even care to justify it. It's just something that I'm gonna do. You know. I used to spend a lot more time worrying about, oh, okay, maybe I've been playing too much, maybe I've been doing this too much, but really, like, it's just it's the major way that I enjoy my own life, and so I make my time for it, and I need to get jobs that are not going to require me to be in the office 60 hours a week, because between the dogs and everything else I do, like, I just wouldn't have time for it, and I would feel unsatisfied as a person if I didn't have that outlet.
I think that's same with me in streaming. Like, I purposely had my schedule on my weekends. So, like, say if I got a 9 to 5 job, which may happen, or if I work 5 days a week or whatever, then I know I could still stream. And I think if I knew that I had to work weekends, or I had to change my schedule up too much, that I probably wouldn't take the job ultimately. Like, or I'd negotiate with them about saying, when do you need me? Give me some advance warning so I can let my community know that they're waiting on me, and go from there. But I sort of want to have a balance. That's sort of what I've been trying to strike, and it's quite difficult to do. There's not a lot of part-time work out there, and that's certainly, like, going to be an issue, I feel. Sure. Hello, Pies. Hello. Go through phases with gaming, switch between playing a ton a day to no games for weeks. Okay, that's an interesting outlook. Yeah.
That's honestly surprising. I know two kinds of people: the ones that do play games and the ones that don't play games. So people who switch on and off on that, I think you're a rarity, Gnarlet. Most people are either entrenched or not, and that's usually how it goes. I'm entrenched full through and through.
Yeah. Interesting. Why my chat box is not working? I apologise about the lack of chat box today, people. Things seem to be breaking left, right, and centre. That's okay. We'll get there. So you talked about your experience with computers a little bit, so we don't really need to cover that again. I guess we could talk about the future of virtual reality and augmented reality. What do you see? I got no topics for this, so it's sort of just like a bit of an opinion piece, as we sort of talked about in the document. Breaking settings normal for Twitch. Yes, I know I've had to go all the way back to Streamlabs for things because Stream Elements has gone and died on me, so that's always good. So what's your thoughts on that sort of stuff? Because I mean,
so I mean, like, there's a lot to say with, like, augmented reality and VR. I mean, it's, I think for a long time, especially in the 90s, early 2000s, people were really trying to push for 3D, VR, augmented reality technology, and it just wasn't quite there. But into the early 2010s, late 2010s especially, we started to really see that technology be somewhat consumer ready. And of course, now you've got, the Valve Index and, all these different ways to experience VR. And I mean, they've gotten it pretty affordable to the point where it's like about as much as you'd spend on a modern console. Or a monitor, anything like that. And I think that we're at the beginning of it actually being relevant, and I'd say actually we're a little bit past that at this point. I think things like VR chat have, like, affected enough people. Now, let me say, I haven't spent any time in VR chat, unfortunately, because it seems like a really cool place to be. And in fact, I should also say this: I haven't been able to experience VR for myself yet, which surprises
I haven't really either.
Even myself.
I've
been to conventions where they had the whole setup, and it's just been a whole thing. But I think there have been enough people who have been in the virtual space for long enough to where those people are going to grow up and continue to be adults, and they're going to continue seeking out that space, and they're going to find it wherever they can get it. And now that the technology's there and people are able to monetize it, it's just not going anywhere. And the more we keep pushing forward, I think the more it's just going to become somewhat essential. It's going to become an everyday reality for everybody. And much in the same way that us chatting on a screen has, even my grandma is savvy to getting on an internet call these days. So I just see it as one of the next steps in human progression that looks a little bit more like novelty at the moment, but just wait till it becomes an essential part of anything. And I think it's just going to blow up.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's certainly going to be a thing, and I think once I made some good goggles, it's going to be a big absolutely. Yeah, well, the sad thing about it, though, I found was, do you remember Google Glass?
Mm-hmm, I do remember those.
Yeah.
They looked really cool when they came out, yet they didn't seem to stick, and I didn't really see a lot of people with them.
No, they were banned pretty much everywhere. I think that was the issue.
Shit! Why were they banned? I didn't know about that.
The camera, because it had an always-on camera, and basically they're like, people didn't want to be recorded without consent, and obviously if you're walking around with a camera, they were just like, not so good. But it looked really impressive, like that sort of the heads-up display type of thing, and you had like an interface with like your phone. It almost was a phone by itself in some aspects, and I think it was really neat what they're actually able to achieve with it, for sure.
I think kind of on that subject of the cameras and people banning it because of that, I think that progressively we're going to continue to let our guard down when it comes to recordings of things in general. I walked around with Austin in our trip, and we did a live stream in the airport, right? We're recording everything, and nobody's hassling us. Nobody's causing us any problems. I think that if you transported me 50 years into the past, granted the technology wasn't there, but let's say it was, people were a lot more concerned with privacy. And nowadays, we just kind of accept that all of our information is everywhere all the time, and you really can't live a completely private lifestyle. Well, you can, but we're just kind of losing that more and more. So I would imagine that things like Google Glasses might get another shot, but that's too bad that they got banned.
Yeah,
we might be further along tech-wise, if not.
Yeah, like the amount of like the development and innovation of like tiny wee chipsets and stuff that you put into like your smartwatches. Some of them are pretty powerful now, like the Apple, the iWatch and the Samsung equivalent and things. If they could put them in a pair of glasses and like, you could probably. I reckon you could probably do something like that again. And I think that's what the Valve the Oculus. Oh, what was that one that was like wireless, completely wireless, and you had to have like a Facebook account logged into it. I forgot the name of it. It's the one.
I wouldn't buy that shit. Fuck
no,
that.
yeah.
But the wireless aspect obviously sounds cool.
Yeah, it was like a separate the direct regional
Oculus Quest 2.
That might have been it. The Quest 2. Yeah, that's the one. Yep. Oh, now we've got chat box working again. Hallelujah. Look at that. I was going to get one, but I hate Facebook. Yeah, I think they might offer. They were going to offer one that didn't require the Facebook integration, but it was going to cost more money. I believe. I think that's what they were trying to do. But that sounded like a really cool idea, and I think if they can connect it to a throwaway account, exactly. Yeah. So I think if they get to the point where they're going to do that with a more mainstream sense without that sort of connection to an account that people don't use. Well, I use Facebook a lot, but we won't get onto that today. It's just that's yeah, yeah. So that's sort of like a development in the right direction in terms of having something wireless. I think people are a little bit worried about the cords and stuff that you need to plug into like the ones that like the index and things where you've got all those sensors around the room and you've got USB cables and HDMI cables and stuff that you need to plug into your computer, and it's like that's a bit of a health and safety hazard if I've seen one.
Yeah. I think it'll all especially jump off when we can make sort of those platforms more affordable, the ones that you kind of hook yourself up into and you can actually walk around and stuff. There's like places where they have those hooked up and stuff, and I don't think that that's ever going to be extremely affordable, but you know, like I've seen a lot of videos on TikTok and whatnot of people running into their TV or, you know, something like that. Yeah. And, you know, while some of them are very funny, when you wind up destroying your own property, like that's no good. I don't know. And there's such a potential for that because it really is so immersive, right? That one second you know you're in the game, and then the next second your animal instincts kick off and you start running, you know? And that's not safe.
Or swinging something around, like, because you're trying to involve yourself. Like, oh, I'm swinging. Yeah, it's like, no, that's...
Even when we could see where we were with Wii remotes, you know? How many TVs got busted up by Wii remotes?
Throwing them into you because you let go of them accidentally, and you're just like, bam! Yeah, the old Wii. Animal instincts. Oh, no, we're not animals, are we? No, can't be animals. So it's going to be interesting to see where it goes, and I think as power gets smaller, I think with computation, and wireless hopefully gets better. You don't want to know how many TVs you smash with the Wii. Guys,
you personally smashed them.
no, do it in chat. Yeah. Oh, jeez. Oh, look. Calm down, okay? It's stop. Get some help. GIF. That's crazy. But it's. I think also I've seen like those platform. Like there's someone that's developed like almost like a Wii platform that you stand on, and like it's almost like this, like you base yourself in this area, and I think that might be an idea, but I think people setting up VR in their living rooms and stuff is a bit dodgy. Like I think that's the Wii Fit.
Yeah, well, it's definitely. It's not a product for everybody right now, right? I mean, in order to really make it work, you need a full room to do it, right? And I mean, I could go out right now and I could go get myself a VR headset, but like in terms of moving around, like I just don't have a free room. Like I'm in a smaller house right now, and all my spaces are taken. So, like, I don't know. That's a tough expense in itself to make it happen. But
we saw sort of a farm putting milking cows into VR glasses, improve milk production. Yes, I think they're also doing it for a lot of science and stuff in the health field is doing in VR as well.
Interesting.
So you can
see.
Practice.
I can see that app. Oh, sorry. I'm so sorry. I got excited about that. Go on.
You could like practice doing things in VR. Like surgeries and stuff like that. You sort of can do it, and they do robot ones now too. Like you look through a VR thing, and you tell the robot to do something. So it's kind of like you're in control of like a remote thing. So you don't have to be in the room type of thing. I mean, they're trying to do this whole VR AR type thing. It's sort of in that aspect. Obviously, that's where they've got the money to do that really high end innovation type of thing. But yeah, it's always interesting. But yeah,
on the topic of just like putting it on milking cows, it's a little bit dystopic. In fact, it's very dystopic to think about. But I think that's very much so the direction that we are headed in. You've got a bleak reality. Hop into the VR world where everything is fancy and beautiful. Live in a shitty house. Well, just put that house in a VR space, and now all of a sudden everything looks sweet. Why buy lights and a green screen and all this fucking shit when you can just buy a headset and program it all yourself? Facebook's got that whole
Meta.
meta thing
Yep.
that that's the
Looking-
big thing. Granted, I know that's tanked super hard probably like a month ago. I read a little bit into it. It has to do with like privacy settings and their advertisers not paying in and stuff like that. So that looks like it may die before it even gets off the ground running. But there were a couple promising features in there, and their interface for building your own environments in the metaverse. I think that's the big ticket for what's going to get people hooked onto the next big thing.
Because, like, if you want to go and look at something or experience something, then it's like, why go visit it? Or why actually go build it? You just go and say, oh, yep, I'm going to go and, or why do it in reality? Yeah, it's just going to be, it's going to be there. Representative overall shift, absolutely, yeah, it does, and I think that's going to be so foreign to a lot of people. It's not even going to be funny. Anyway, it's time to take questions for chat. I think we've got like, probably like 5-10 minutes. So now it's your time to have a chat. If you've got any questions for me as well, then please bring it. Please bring them up now. But otherwise, yes, it's your time to sort of ask us things. If you've got anything to ask me about tech or anything in that sort of field, then I'm happy to answer your questions. I'm just going to look up something very quickly. See when I can get there. Yep, cool. All right, cool. All right, yeah. Now's your time.
Cool. I'm kind of curious, does your day job have anything to do with hardware stuff or just electronic things at all? Or is this just kind of a hobby of yours, something that you find a deep interest in?
I mean, I currently don't do a lot. I sort of, we won't go too deep into that. I have tried to get jobs in this. I do unfortunately need a degree, and a lot of the degree is like programming, and I don't fancy myself programming. Like, that's just not my interest.
I imagine the prospects are a little limited too. You're out in New Zealand, so it's only so big out there, right?
Yeah, I mean, I know we do. We try to attract a lot of companies with like having a really, really good internet connection, because that's sort of what we put in probably about 7, 8. I think we started installing about 8 or 9 years ago. Fiber around the whole country. And I think.
Wait, you said they're installing fiber around the whole country in New Zealand?
New Zealand's got fiber pretty much everywhere.
That's impressive. I didn't realize that. I thought that just because of another YouTube content creator, that I thought that New Zealand could kind of struggle with internet sometimes. That's impressive. That's cool.
Yeah, it's not like there's a lot of rural communities don't have it yet.
Right.
And I think that's what they're trying to roll out, like Starlink and stuff. But
sure.
I think in the next couple of years, even a lot of the rural communities will have access to a fibre connection. Because you're trying to get rid of the copper. They're actually trying to just switch it off altogether, because it's just getting old and obviously just not serviceable anymore. So, and everyone else has got fibre, and it's just, they spent probably a good couple of $100 million on the upfront cost of trying to do it. They've got most of it out of the way. How have GPU prices been doing recently? Haven't looked into it months, but sort of about recently we saw something like hash rate GPU variants. They're coming down. GPU prices are definitely coming down. I've noticed that they're about 10 or 15% less than they were a couple of months ago. And I think, the light hash rate versions are basically a joke, I think, because there's a lot of stuff out there that have been able to unlock the potential of what light hash rate, the lock that they've put on mining on NVIDIA cards. But And also there's another tool that's come out now that is actually a virus. Don't download the Light Hash Rate Unlocker v2. It's a virus. But yeah, no, I think people, and obviously a lot of people who are really seriously into mining buy them direct from NVIDIA or AMD anyway. So they don't even worry about having, consumer locks on things anyway, so it's not a big deal. But yes, they are certainly coming down. I think you can buy, I saw something on Twitter about that, so I'll just see if I can find it again. I did retweet it, I think.
Yeah, and on that note, while you're looking, so like one of the ways that I've been monitoring it, I go to PC Part Picker and I just look at the price drop section, and for the last year, maybe more, if you go and look at their price drops, if you look at processors or graphics cards, you're not getting any deals on anything. Just maybe 1 or 2% off here or there. And now I'm looking right now, and there's definitely not a lot there, but I'm definitely starting to see some price drops here and there.
Yes, absolutely.
So people are trying to discount them a little bit more. I heard that a lot of that was because of chips shortages that were going on.
I think realistically we've come we've come to accept that there has been a shortage of production. Even cars have been affected, printers were affected, and even just general appliances have been affected with, computer components not being in great supply. So but I think it's starting to come back. But I think now it's just the fact that mining's been crashing, that there's going to be potentially more availability of cards, on the used market. So it's sort of they're trying to, say remain competitive with the used market. And I think that's more what it is, rather than supply going up. Maybe it is going up a little bit, but not enough to warrant the price drops I think that we're seeing to the extent that they are. So it's interesting. Yeah. Hi Austin, hello, welcome back in. You keep dipping in and out, but that's okay. We're all good here. I think we're about to finish up not long anyway. Is there any last minute stuff that you... we've got probably about 5 minutes. So if we've got a little bit of time to have a last minute sort of discussion here before we round up. Anything from chat? I recently uploaded my PC. I'm still running a 1070 Ti. Yeah, that's a perfectly good GPU.
That's exactly what I'm running as well, and it does all the latest games just fine. I'm able to I've been streaming Elden Ring while playing it while streaming it while doing plenty of other things in the background. So and without having to really turn the graphics settings down. So 1070 does fine. You don't need a 2060, but if you do, good for you.
Yeah, 2060 is about this. I mean, 2060 is a little bit above a 1070, not by a great deal. I mean, and I think even AMD cards now with, if you're not too worried about ray tracing, yes, you have been I love the 5700 XT. It's a great card. My friend has one. I'm a little bit jealous that his card is slightly faster than my Radeon 7. If you want to Google the Radeon 7 while we're off there, have a look at what that is. But it's quite a rare specimen, that's for sure. But it's about the same performance as a 5700 XT, and great systems there. And still running a 2600K. Wow, you're running a 2600K still? Holy shit! Wow, good on you for running second gen, dude. That's intense. That's 10 years old tech right there. To be honest, I don't worry about ray tracing. Most games kill my PC whenever I put ray tracing is still broken as hell, unless you've got a 3090. That's
the big thing though when it comes to graphics. That's where all the hype's at. And ray tracing and global illumination.
Yep. Wow, big. Yeah. Oh, I've got a sound alert actually. I wonder if I can find it. I made it myself. Let's go to my channel. I can't use sound alerts from here.
There's something else.
I was running a 2600K. Yeah, it was an amazing. It was an amazing card. Got a lot of long-lasting parts. Absolutely. Hey, keep it out of the bin, and keep it out of, if you want to recycle it. There we go. Here's my sound alert. I'll play that while we've still got the ability. Is it going to work? Is it going to work? Play on stream. There it goes.
Everything just works because ray tracing just works.
There we go. We have a good recycling in Austin, Texas. Yeah, that's cool. I like recycling stuff. Yeah, it's a really good thing to get into, and a lot of people just, instead of just throwing it away, get it fixed and they give it to someone else or they sell it to someone else. Yeah, 2600K. I'm actually, that's what's going to be my test bench, is a 2600K. But I'm going to overclock it and to the moon, probably get 5 gigahertz out of it, I would imagine, and just see what it can do. But are you did you mute yourself just then?
Oh, did I? Am I muted?
Oh, I think, mate, you may have been.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, electronic recycling is brilliant, and I definitely advocate for that sort of thing. Because a lot of people need stuff and they can't get access to it because they can't afford it, so they just sort of repair it and then send it out to people, and I think that's really, really neat. Good to see you going along there, Austin. Actually, I didn't imagine you'd be. Didn't think you'd be sort of interested in that sort of area and stuff. I think maybe I need to get you back on the show. 2600 was water cooled. Yeah, they were really, really neat chips. Really, really neat chips, and I'm glad to have one back finally, because I never actually got a 2600K. I got a 2500K in my main build for a while, but just the i7 was just that Halo product, and that would be awesome. It's awesome to be able to play with one again. So, actually, no, it's the 2700K was the Halo product, but I don't think I've got a 2700K, but that's okay. It's just slightly higher clock speeds out of the box, which is just better for overall stability and things. But yeah, any last minute things? Yeah, last minute things before we head off here.
Looks like I disconnected for just a second. Don't know why, but looks like I'm back.
Was that Discord or was that the stream?
It was Discord. I was watching your stream.
Oh.
Stream was healthy.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Oh well. Yeah. Any last minute things? Yeah. Before we go.
Nothing's coming to mind, so
yeah.
I guess not.
No. Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much for coming. Absolutely, pleasure having you, and it was good chats. I know it was a little bit more in depth than what I'd normally do with these sort of discussions, but where can we follow you? Where can we find you? Put your links in chat while
it was great coming on here. Really, it was just a chill time. I learned a couple things, saw some cool products. I mean, hell, I got an interactive tech magazine is what I got today. So that was fun. I got to see some cool stuff that I haven't seen before, and talk about things that I normally don't talk about. So I really appreciate it.
That's the whole crux of why I'm here. Absolutely. And if there's anything that people want to discuss, or anybody else who wants to come on that's been in chat today, feel free to be in touch. Happy to find and have a chat to you about the prospect of what that looks like. But go follow this man. He's an amazing guy.
I'll go. I've got some people that I think might actually really do well on this show, and I think it'd be really cool to get somebody with a little bit more expertise. And I know some friends who know this kind of stuff, so I'll get you set up with those guys.
All right.
All right. I'll get you some good guests, people. That
sounds like a plan. Happy to have referrals. I suppose it's a referral, but go follow this man.
Yeah, my main things, twitch.tv/Geomoxian.
Yep.
I chill, I play games. Let's do it.
Yep.
Let's go.
Yeah. And so when will we see you live next?
Maybe tonight. We'll see what happens. I kind of have to do some discussing with Austin. She was talking about doing Truth or Dab. I don't know if we're doing that tonight or if we're doing that tomorrow or when it is, but right now I'm on my speed run to affiliate, so I'm trying to stream every day until I get that done. And so we'll see if I pop on for a little bit tonight.
She's not streaming. She broke some stuff. Oh no.
Oh yikes. Dear. I saw you working on the Liorn board over there, so
yikes.
Good luck.
Oh well. Good. Yeah. Oh well. Always good stuff. Okay. Yes. Go. Good. Yes. Don't forget to say hi. My board. Please, my board, Sag. You'll see me live again on Friday evening with Borderlands. Obviously, if you want to join me in for Forza on Saturday, come say hi, and then some other games on Sunday as normal. But yeah, if you want to come on the podcast, as I said, please let me know. Happy to speak with you. Come follow me on Twitter if you want to have a chat with me there as well, and Discord. If you want to, I've got that there too. And your nail's too long. I cannot type. Lol. The tragedies and first world problems of being someone who wears long nails. I'm not going to say a woman because that's just bad. Because men wear long nails too. That's okay. So yep. Feel free to come and say hi, and I will look forward to seeing you all in the next episode of the podcast. Or if you want to come say hi when I'm live, do that too. Thank you very much. Appreciate everybody who comes out. We probably won't be rating out today. I don't generally do that on the podcast because people who I follow generally aren't live at this time of day, so we won't do that. Awesome. Thank you very much. Peace out for now. Have a good one. Bye for now.
Thank you, Hardware.
No worries. Happy to have you. Always, as always. Okay.